Welcome to another episode of What Happened, the show that sheds light on some of the biggest and most embarrassing video game disasters of all time. There's so much competition out there, so many games on so many different platforms vying for your attention. You wouldn't be lying if you said it's still a riskier business than, say, producing movies or making music. It's hilarious. There's so much that can go so wrong in so little time. So let's rewind the clock and take a look back at one of the schlockiest, sleaziest game disasters ever. Fuck you, guy game. You'll get your chance. BMX XXX. It's 2002. Video games have never and would never be cooler than this. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater is still burning up the charts with its fourth entry in the series. And for all intents and purposes, extreme sports is still the king of the hill when it comes to video game genres. Think about how many other pretenders to the throne were gunning for Mr. Hawk and his Pro Skaters, clasping for the fame and fortune he was able to mine from his Lazarus pits. Kelly Slater's Pro Surfer, Matt Hoffman's Pro BMX, Shaun White's Snowboarding, Aggressive Inline, Razor Freestyle Scooter, Gravity Games Bike Street Dirtford, SSX Tricky, Toxic Grind, Krusty Demons, and finally, Dave Mirra's Freestyle BMX. Clearly, this was a cow that would never, ever run dry, right? Now let's back up. Dave Mirra was a man, and he was good at BMXing. And because Tony Hawk did it, Mr. Mirra then teamed up with the Luminaries, that plucky up-and-coming publisher, Acclaim, to release his own branded game series. This was the start of the Acclaim ACA X Sports Extreme Extended Universe. Basically, a cool, edgy label to which you can just slap all the weird sports games you were pumping out. Similar to, of course,
EA Sports.
Through this label, Dave Mirra 1 and 2, and technically 3 on the GBA, were released on various platforms, including the PS2, Xbox, and GameCube. And you know what? They were pretty damn good sports games, especially if you fucked around with the cheats and weird ragdoll physics. Very inoffensive, leave them be. They didn't do nothing to no one. They even sold pretty well, and up until this point, all extreme sports games were selling well. But remember that cow that was trying to get blood from a stone so it could be milked for a few more years? Yeah, that cow was starting to get tired as fuck, and very, very quickly, publishers started to see declining profits and the multitude of sequels that were being pushed out the door. Hell, even Ric Flair himself saw the writing on the wall and decided his game series needed a major overhaul. So he had Undergrounds, American Wastelands, projects, and started having people get off their boards and run around, etc. Games of this type were getting sillier and sillier, raunchier and sexier? Yeah, this was fast becoming the Jackass age, and even Jackass got its own video game, one of the very few PS2 games that can actually run in HD. Back to Dave Mirra. Acclaim was looking over the shoulder of Mr. Hawk at the same writing on the wall, but instead of getting worried, they doubled down on this nasty new spin the genre was heading towards. Acclaim always seemed to embrace this car crash style of game marketing, whether you're bloodvertising dead babies named Turok Shadowman or whatever, they had some experience with it. During game development meetings, people, threw out various ideas, some good, some bad, some insane. During one such meeting at Z Access Games, someone famously suggested, "Let's put strippers in it." This was met with laughter and was immediately implemented. Thus, full-time development began on Dave Dickmaster Mirra's Sexplosion BMX Stringpocalypse. Now, sports games were already pretty silly at the time when you think about it, doing ollies over hobos or retrieving certain items or sticking it to cops or other uniformed authority figures. This was, just taking it up to a 10 or an 11 or 32. So what's in? Topless female racers, dogs doing the nasty, drugs, pimps, hookers, and all the usual stuff you might find within the Acclaim offices. But things were riding into high. Acclaim needed a hit to stay afloat, and this seemed like a cutting-edge gambit that would work given the pop culture climate at the time. So what happened? It wasn't long before the game needed to be shown to Mr. Mira himself, and it was reported he was super into it. It's the third game in the series, and it's doing something different and in vogue at the time, so I guess it was just considered a laugh. You know who didn't think it was a laugh though? The sponsors of various pro BMXers. In very short order, under pressure from the hands that feed them, all the pros pulled their names from the game, including Mira himself. Not long before launch, Dave Mira's BMX XXX was changed to simply BMX XXX because Mira decided to take a claim to court and alleged that they radically changed the game's tone without his consent. There's a lot of he said, she said bullshit, but the lawsuit was eventually dropped. The game released and Mira and Acclaim said their partnership would continue, but of course, once this game released, that never really coalesced. But hey, now that stinky old Grandpa Mira was out of the picture, then let's let Claim do whatever the fuck they want. So getting more sharp polygonal nipples in there. Let's populate levels of prostitutes and prostitutes and more prostitutes. Hey, if we lost a recognizable name, let's get a new one. You know, Scores, the strip club. Yeah, let's get the license for that and put Scores strip clubs in the game. Let's literally get videos of strippers stripping, showing off their nakedness. It's video games! This started to push certain buttons of certain people, and literally the only news or groundswell for BMX XXX going into its launch was Nintendo, Sony, Microsoft, and of course, the SRB. There's female nudity in this game, and we were years away from God of War, and I guess Sony was a bit more prudish back in 2002 because they were completely against the claim putting these satanic nipples into the PS2 version of the game. But Nintendo and Microsoft, they didn't care. Yes, Nintendo, those filthy smut publishers, were completely fine with realistic female yabos bouncing in your face. But His Holiness, Sony Computer Entertainment, thought it was too raunchy and raw. That's why the PS2 version of BMX XXX is the only one that's censored. But any publicity is good publicity, right? I mean, get this, this game is getting censored. There's stuff Big Brother Sony doesn't want you to see. I mean, that's gotta equal to sales, right? No, not really. It's been reported between all three SKUs of the game, it was barely able to push 160,000 copies out the door. This might have to do with the game not being very good. Even by 2002 standards, it's probably one of the uglier titles released at the time. I mean, MGS2 had come out a year before. The missions are designed with strict time limits because, of course, completing mission objectives is what unlocks the dozens of Score videos. So you are basically walled off as far as they could push it from actually completing the game with minimal frustration. There's a number of bugs in the maps, wonky collisions, spotty controls, and there's this general drab air of cheapness that permeates the entire sordid affair. You just feel a lot more sweaty and greasy for having played BMX XXX. Yes! Woohoo! All hookers have been delivered! Then, 2 years later, 2004, Acclaim filed for bankruptcy, and nobody really cared. While the blame can't be leveled solely on BMX XXX for underperforming, it certainly didn't help. I think Turok Evolution might have had a bigger hand in digging that grave. Z-Axis Games, they went on to also bankruptcy, but were able to push one more game out the door. You might remember the unmemorable X-Men The Official Game, a title I actually didn't even know existed until just now. Oh, wait, no, I own a copy, actually. So that's BMX XXX! A massive thanks goes out to Derek from Stop Skeletons from Fighting for handling the editing duties on this video. If you want to check out his stuff, just use the links below. And if you want me to cover more disastrous game disasters in the future, just drop a line in the comments below or send me an email at magnummuscles@gmail.com. Thanks for watching.